Joining me to keep your kids safe is Dr. Katie Stordahl with Children's Hospital. And right off the bat, adult supervision is key.
It is key, and everything that we're talking about today with sledding-related injuries is pretty much common sense to keep your kids safe. They need to be supervised when they're out there, and you may need to make sure that they're not near any cars, roads, trees, rocks, any hard objects that they could hit or run into.
That's where kids get into trouble, obviously. Now, what do they need to look for in other ways when looking for a hill to sled down, other than what you just mentioned?
I would look and make sure that there's no culverts, ditches, dips at the bottom, because it's so easy for kids to go in those and then fly out of the sled, and that's a very easy way to break a bone. The other things I would look for is making sure that the path is clear of trees and trying to keep kids from bunching onto sleds, because we've seen injuries with that when there's several children and they all fly off and then they can hurt themselves that way.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to do that, but it can be dangerous. And it's not just the hills themselves. You talked about the surrounding areas, cars, debris. Look for big rock, just common sense stuff, right?
It is, and the injuries that we've seen for the most part have not been very serious. We don't want to keep kids from sledding. We want them to enjoy this magical weather. But we have seen some serious things like concussions, broken femurs, and abdominal injuries that resulted in surgery. So watch out for those big and hard objects that kids can hit.
Yeah, and ice too.
Ice is very important. You can't put your heels or your hands down to stop when you're sledding on ice. It's much like ice skating. We wouldn't put kids on ice skates and send them down a hill. If it's icy, you don't want to do the same thing with the sled.
All right, Dr. Katie Stordahl, thank you.